Hello YouTube. I'm making a video today to show you some of the tools and the materials that I use to make some of my clay sculptures. And I guess the first thing I'll start off with is the wire. And this is basically, it's galvanized wire. It's from a company called Bulldog Hardware. You can get it at Walmart. It was around $6 for 100 feet. I of course use wire cutters to shape, to cut and shape the wire. There's also this 20 gauge wire that I bought that I plan on using, but that won't be until I'm creating more advanced armatures, and it'll be like to wrap around the 14 gauge wire for the clay to fix onto, and it won't be to hold up the sculpture. This stuff is used to hold up the sculpture. So far, since I've only made a few heads and hand, I haven't had to use this 20 gauge wire yet. But if you're using wire, it doesn't matter what you use as long as it can support the weight of the sculpture, and you just have to use your judgment on that. You know, obviously if you're doing a bigger sculpture, you want to use like wire like this. I also use tin foil. This is to fill out the sculpture that I put over the wire. The reason for this is you never want to use or want a sculpture to just be solid clay, because that would take a long time to cook, and it would crack, and you know, it would be heavy, that, and you'd use like a lot more clay. Basically, you can get the cheap tin foil like this at the dollar store, because all it has to do is rest inside the sculpture. I mean, it doesn't have to, you know, cover food or anything, so it doesn't matter if it tears a little bit. You know, you can get this about 75 cents for 25 square feet. So, moving on, I use a serving tray that I found in my kitchen cabinet to make my sculptures on. You can get them really at any store that sells stuff for the kitchen. They aren't hard to find, although I have no idea where this one came from. I think one of my ex-girlfriends left it in the cabinet, and I found it. And you can really use anything you want to do your sculptures on. I wouldn't recommend using a desk though like this, because they usually get dirty and the wood is sometimes porous. And when you use something like a serving tray, it makes the sculptures easier to move from your work area. Anyhow, the main reason I use it is because it's easy to clean, and it has a nice, smooth, it's like a metal-like surface, kind of like stainless steel. That, and it's easy to wipe off. And speaking of wiping it off, I use this stuff to wipe it off, because it's anti-static and it doesn't attract dust. I wipe it off with a shop towel, like a lint-free shop towel, before and after every use. The reason I use this eyeglass or lens cleaner is because I have glasses, and when I used it on them, it sucked. I think it smudged or something like that, but I didn't want to waste it, so I got the idea to start using it to clean this serving tray for my sculptures. It works rather well, although you can use anything you'd like. I'd recommend something that repels dust, because obviously you don't want dust for your sculptures. And you know, do like a lint-free cloth, like a shop towel will work. I mean, you just, you know, wipe it off like that. Moving on.